Now, Brooklyn is one of the most notorious boroughs in New York City, with projects like Lafayette Gardens, Brevoort, Marcy, Sumner, The Plaza, Marcus Garvey, Tilden, Pink Houses, Cypress, and the list goes on. The home of Big Daddy Kane, Biggie, Jay-Z, Lil' Kim, M.O.P., ODB, and Jay-Z. And notorious street legends like 50 Cent, Demensio, Puerto Rican Jesus, and Killer Ben, just to name a few. The home of the Wu and Cho, from Brownsville, Bed-Stuy, to Flatbush, Bushwick, Coney Island, Crown Heights, Williamsburg, East New York, you name it. Now in Kingsborough, even though it's poverty and people struggling, we still spread love because it's the Brooklyn way. Now even though we spread love, we still get on that Brooklyn bullshit.
Some of the most violent shootings between two gangs were caught on security video. Guns drawn and indiscriminately firing at rivals with but one reason in mind.
The two are basically engaged in a continuous state of warfare. You know, the theme is you shoot one of us, we'll shoot two of you.
These rival gangs, the Wu and the Cho, according to investigators, were located in Brownsville, around Livonia and Rockaway Avenues, each controlling opposite sides of the streets.
Since 2002, there's been over 70 shootings.
Former Police Commissioner James O'Neill took Eyewitness News to that area last year, to what he described as the most dangerous street in the city.
The numbers have gone way down, but still compared to the rest of the city, it's more violent.
The NYPD's Brooklyn North Gang Squad and the DA's Violent Criminal Enterprises Bureau spent 2 years investigating the gangs, leading to the arrest of 34 alleged members, charging them with 121 counts of attempted murder, assault, and conspiracy.
Now, Calvin Martin, aka the real 50 Cent, was born in the Bronx but raised in Brooklyn. As a teenager, he began doing crimes and he'll end up on Rikers Island. He also had a street clique called the Brooklyn Zoo. Now, 50 Cent would spend a lot of time in Fort Greene, and he also was known to run with the Paid in Full posse, as shown on the back of Eric B. and Rakim Paid in Full album cover. 50 Cent would terrorize the streets of Brooklyn and all over New York, and he was known to roll with 2 revolvers, robbing any and everybody during the 80s. He was known to rob drug dealers and numerous rappers as well. Now it's reported that 50 Cent was shot 24 times on 9 separate occasions and committed around 30 murders. And in 1987, his run had come to an end, and 50 Cent was unalived in Albany houses in a stairwell. So 50 Cent was definitely terrorizing the streets and was a well-known stick-up kid in New York in the 80s. Now, if y'all not familiar with Demensio, I'll give you a brief rundown on him just like I did the real 50 Cent. Now, Demensio Benson was another well-known street dude in the 80s and 90s from Brooklyn. Now, in the 80s, Demensio was heavy in the streets selling drugs and would eventually reach kingpin status. Now, Demensio was also called Montana. Some say he got his name supposedly for hustling out in Washington, D.C. And Demensio was a real flashy guy that got a lot of women. And you may have seen Demensio running around with other well-known street dudes like Haitian Jack, Black Just, Kendu, Puerto Rican Jesus, Homo, and even Mike Tyson. You know, he was a real flashy dude hustling in and out of town, getting a lot of money. And sadly, Demensio will be unalive as well. In 1991, he was killed at a basketball game in D.C. from the orders of Al Poe, which Al Poe gave orders to Wayne Perry to kill him over a dispute that he had with Al Poe's wife. Now, some people say he was hitting Al Poe's wife, you know, in the bedroom, and some people say he put hands on her. Whatever the case may have you, Al Poe had Wayne Perry kill him at a basketball game. Now, Demensio and 50 Cent will have a dispute as well at Brooklyn Empire skating rink. Now, supposedly, Demensio and 50 Cent will have words outside of the skating rink, and later when they got inside the skating rink, 50 Cent would try to rob Demensio, which led to them getting it on. Now, it's said that Demensio was getting the best of 50, beating 50 up, and 50 would end up pulling out a razor and ended up cutting Demensio before fleeing. And supposedly from all Demensio adrenaline pumping, he didn't know he was cut at first. And they saying like after all the females were screaming because he was bleeding, he realized he was cut and he got up out of there. And you know, 50 Cent thing was robbing drug dealers, hitting they stash houses and all that, getting them for money. And you know, usually he have his way, but you know, even though you a stick-up kid and you got a reputation, everybody not gonna be scared of you because there's other street dudes just as tough as you. And Demensio was one of them, you get what I'm saying? Plus Demensio was in the loop with the other, you know, shot callers and ballers, so he wasn't scared of 50 Cent, you know what I mean? He wasn't having it. And I'm sure y'all know by now that 50 Cent got his name from Calvin Martin, the real 50 Cent and all that. Now, World Hardy was a big-time drug dealer in the Lafayette Gardens in Brooklyn, and he also had a crew called CMB, Cash Money Brothers, which was influenced by Nino Brown crew in the New Jack City movie. Now, World was heavy in the streets and putting in work and doing whatever he had to do to keep his money rolling in from his drug organization. Now, a lot of people may know World for dating Little Kim and playing like a manager role for her in the DVD era days. Now, it's also said that World shot at 50 Cent and his crew back in 2003 outside of Jersey City Hotel for dissing Little Kim at the radio.
I think he was the deadliest of all the threats against 50. He was the worst one. He's not the one, not the guy you want against you. And he had a super tight crew of killers.
Little Kim was fucking with one of the realest gangsters in Brooklyn, right? World. Right?
Yeah.
Was 50 scared?
But before World crossed over being in the music industry with his fiancée Little Kim, he'll be serving a prison sentence. And while he was locked up, his brother will be unalive. Now, supposedly the person responsible for taking out World brother was the cousin of Ivory Nut Davis. Now, I'm saying Nut cousin, but some reports say it was Nut nephew. Some say his cousin, but nevertheless, it was Nut's family member or someone he was related to take out World older brother Wise. And Nut was also a well-known street dude from Lafayette Gardens. And Nut was definitely doing his thing in the street and getting money as well. And as you can see, he was in the Junior Mafia video because he had a relationship with Little Kim, Biggie, and Junior Mafia as well. Now, while World was in prison, he put together the plan of taking Nut out because he felt like Nut could have stopped his cousin from unaliving his brother. Now, another reason why World held Nut responsible for the death of his brother Wise is because supposedly Nut and Wise used to have shootouts and everything.
You know what I'm saying? There's a couple times I was with Nut. Me and Nut walking together and him and Wise come. I'm in the middle of it. Start shooting. Boom, boom.
Now, this is how Homo comes into this whole situation. Now, people may know Homo from 50 Cent mentioning him in Many Men as his shooter.
Homo shot me 3 weeks later. He got shot down.
Also, Homo was well known to be wild in them streets and also the best friend of Mike Tyson and the brother of rapper Maino's baby mother.
I dedicate this fight to my brother, Darryl Brown, who died. I'll be there to see you. I love you with all my heart.
Now, when World came home, it said and reported that he got Homo unalive because of his relationship with Nut. And they knew Homo was a threat, so they got him out the way in fear of him retaliating. And they knew if something happened to Nut that Homo was going to retaliate because he was the muscle. Now, supposedly, it came out that Mike Tyson put $50K on World head for the death of his friend Homo. Now, shortly after Homo was taken out, one of World's CMB boys would finally take out Ivory Nut Davis after shooting him in front of Club Envy. Now, a few years after this big war in Brooklyn, in July 2005, World along with 12 other Cash Money brothers would be indicted for racketeering, which included distribution of cocaine and up to 6 murders. And in 2015, World was sentenced to life in prison. Now, also some things that need to be mentioned. Homo Bomb had a brother named T-Rock who was locked up or whatever. When he came home after Homo was murdered, he put the word around town that he was going to kill or do something to anybody that had anything to do with Homo's death. So the word got back to World and his CMB guys, and they took out T-Rock as well. Now, it's also said that Little Kim messed with Nut at one point, and then, you know, she started messing with Wise, World older brother, and she started messing with World.
At one point, he was dating Kim.
Tell me the story.
My brother. It was your blood brother.
My blood brother.
Was dating Kim.
So Little Kim really was living what she was rapping about. Like, she messed with Nut, World, and his brother Wise. That's crazy. And let's not forget to mention that Nut and World was once cool, but, you know, when he went to jail and Nut got his weight up in the street hustling, him and, you know, Wise started to go at it. You know, competition when you hustling. Basically, everybody want to make the most money. If I'm selling weight right here in my building and you across the street selling weight, you taking food out my mouth. And if we ain't gonna get money together, eventually we gonna start beefing. And the sad thing about it, Nut could have eventually got out the streets because he was trying to cross over into the music industry. He had his own record label, Yo-Yo Records and all that. And I feel like that's how he met a lot of his connections. Well, I should say music industry connections. And it said that Nut was shot 3 different times at 3 different clubs. So I guess the street life caught up to him. Now, we all know the story of Troy Ave and Taxstone altercation at Irving Plaza at T.I.'s concert that ended with Troy Ave homeboy Banger being shot and killed, and Troy Ave being shot in his legs and arrested after. Now, even though the situation was heavy in media, it seems like everyone overlooks a few months after the whole Irving Plaza situation, Troy Ave would be shot again, this time in his head and his back on Christmas Day. Now, according to Troy Ave, before going to a family dinner for Christmas, he stopped in East Flatbush to a tailor spot where he was having some hats made, and he'll drop off some extra money so the hats can be produced quicker. Now, as he was leaving to meet his mother for this family dinner, as he was parked in his car with his lady friend, a dude would walk up on the driver's side of his Maserati with his hoodie down and raise his arm. But before he can shoot, Troy would jump at the shooter and scream out, "You ain't no killer."
I just yelled mad loud at the kid, you know what I'm saying? You ain't no killer.
The shooter would begin to fire shots at Troy Ave, striking him in his back and head. Troy would try to drive off, but ended up crashing. Troy would end up getting stuck in his car, but his girlfriend would help get him out.
I tried to open the rooftop to get out the roof, and Shorty pulled me out, and we got to jog to the hospital.
Now, Troy Ave and his girl would flag down cars and knock on cars for a ride to the hospital, but no one would stop. But Troy Ave would wrap his head with his girlfriend's scarf, and finally a minivan would stop for him and take him to the hospital.
This guy stopped. He said, "Get in." He on the phone with his wife. She said, "What happened?" He said, "Baby, somebody got shot." And she just started praying the whole ride there.
Now, I'm going to get into an article from CNN from 2016. It says Brooklyn rapper Troy Ave, wounded in a fight this spring that led to a charge of attempt murder, was shot and wounded again. The latest incident took place on Christmas Day in Brooklyn when a man approached the rapper while he stopped at an intersection, authorities said. Troy Ave, whose real name Roland Collins, attempted to drive when a gunman shot several rounds into the rapper red Maserati, according to Collins' attorney, John Stella. Collins was taken to Brookdale Hospital, a medical center in Brooklyn, where he was in stable condition after sustaining a shoulder wound and a graze wound to the head, Stella told CNN. He went into surgery late Sunday night as doctors worked to extract a bullet that passed through Collins' shoulder and became lodged in his back. Collins' girlfriend, who was in the car passenger seat, was not injured. The gunman remains unidentified and at large. According to New York Police Department Lieutenant John Gripple, Collins said he could only see the shooter wore a hoodie that hid his face, according to Stella, who spoke to Collins in the hospital. Thankfully, he will survive the second attempt on his life, said Scott Lehman, another attorney representing Collins. Tonight, Troy Ave was targeted again on Christmas in Brooklyn, going to meet his family for the holiday. He was shot 2 times, Lehman said in a statement. As we said from the beginning, he is a victim. We pray for his speedy recovery. Now, I just want to say this, no matter how you feel about Troy Ave, whether you felt he told, whether you felt he was right or wrong in the whole Irving Plaza situation, whether you felt he went in there and started things, or if he just was on the opposite side of the gun and he was just a victim, you gotta admit this whole situation is crazy. Now just think about it. His man got shot and killed right in front of him earlier that year. The same situation he was shot in, and he had to get the gun and go after the shooter. And then after that, he set up in jail for a minute. He finally comes home, start living his life. Then later that year on Christmas, a day you're supposed to spend with your family and enjoy yourself, he gets shot in the head and back. Now, this situation is crazy. No matter how street you are, no matter how tough you are, you definitely get some PTSD behind it. You know, Troy Ave, luckily, he made it out. Now, Maino's been on my channel headlines a few times for different drama and beef he was involved in, from the cutting situation with Boxing Bar, his fight with Little C's, putting hands on Young Berg, his physical altercations with Bunky Essay and Tragedy Gaddafi, and rumors of having beef with fellow Brooklyn rapper Rod Diggs. But before Maino put out his platinum single For All of the Above featuring T-Pain, before he could drop his hit record For High Hater, before he could put out his Lobby Boys album with Jim Jones and work with artists like Jadakiss, Fabulous, and Dave East, Maino will find himself in some trouble he might not made it out of. Now, after Maino came home from doing 10 years in prison, he was on the grind trying to make it in the music industry. Now, supposedly, Maino was in a sneaker store and he was approached by a stick-up kid who was trying to rob him, but Maino wrestled the gun away from him and shot the stick-up kid with his own gun.
He got his gun in my face. He trying to take my chain. I ain't panicking. This nigga ain't know what he was doing because I reversed that situation, took the gun and shot him.
Now, according to Maino, he says he blamed himself for letting that happen because he was at the sneaker store too long, talking to females and just not moving right. But luckily, he said that the stick-up kid didn't really know what he was doing. He was too close, and he actually put the gun on Maino's head. You get what I'm saying? And Maino said that's where he really took it personal. Now, Maino actually reenacted this whole situation that happened in the sneaker store in his video on Smack DVD for Till I Die. And Maino even talk about this situation on his Take It Like a Man song. He said, "Mama, pray for your first son. Dude tried to rob me. I shot him with his own gun." Now, luckily, Maino's still alive and well to even speak on his situation, and I hope he learned from his mistakes. He said he was in a different hood. You know, he wasn't on his turf. And I believe this happened in East New York. So salute to Maino for getting out this situation. And according to Maino, the dude that tried to rob him, he passed away from a different situation. But anyway, this is just an interesting story I wanted to share with y'all if y'all ain't heard it already. Now, Rod Diggs is probably one of the most authentic rappers ever to break inside the music industry. Growing up downtown Brooklyn in Gowanus houses, Rod Diggs would begin to sell drugs at an early age and even been arrested as early as the age of 14 years old. Now, in the late 90s, 9/8 to be exact, supposedly Rod Diggs would have a shootout with rivals in Wyckoff houses where an innocent bystander was shot in the head. Now, Diggs was a high-ranking member of the murderous Mad Dog Bloods and was in control of most of the drugs sold in Gowanus projects, where he had several stash houses. Now, it's even said that Rod Diggs was connected to 3 murders, where witnesses said they seen Rod do it with their own eyes. And Rod Diggs himself would be shot. On October 7th, 2001, Rod would be shot in his left leg over a drug dispute. And while recovering from his injuries in Kings County Hospital, it said that Rod Diggs' cousins would kill the shooter that shot him. Now, you may have heard Diggs speak on this situation on a freestyle with Uncle Murda to Young Jeezy Slow Down beat. And Rod Diggs says on this track, "I don't respect the shooter because he shot me in the legs, and 2 days later the little was dead. If he was smart, he would have shot me in the head because I could get you shot from a hospital bed." Now, after living a long life of crime, Rod Diggs would eventually have to face the consequences of his actions. On October 5th, 2010, Rod was arrested for 3 murders, drug dealing, racketeering, which all was federal charges. And at trial, several of Rod Diggs' songs and music videos was used against him as evidence. Rod Diggs would eventually get sentenced to 12 life sentences and 105 years in prison. Now, according to Math Hoffa, he'll get into a fight at the age of 15 with another dude that seems to be a bully. Now, even though the guy he was fighting had a razor, Math wouldn't back down and even told him he was going to beat him up, even though he had a weapon. Now, according to Math Hoffa, while he was fighting this guy, his mother would come outside while the two was in the middle of getting it on.
We got wrapped up. My moms came outside. She saw what was going on.
Now, while these two were in a tangle, Math would eventually headbutt the guy he was fighting, and this dude would drop the razor he had. Now, supposedly, Math will hit this guy with a 3-piece combination, and he'll hit the floor.
I don't know where I got this 3-piece combination from. It was legendary.
Now, when he get up, he'll grab Math Hoffa Moms by the arms, telling her to tell Math to chill out. Now, Math then will push his moms out of harm's way and square up with this guy once again. Now, at this point, when he squared up with the guy, he realized that he was cut. And at this point, Math said he blacked out and supposedly beat the guy so bad, he had to go to the hospital.
I'm going at it with him, and I felt something wet drip off my chin, and I just saw red after that.
Now, it's not clear exactly where Papoose and Uncle Murda beef stems from, but some speculate that after Papoose left Violator, Chris Lighty gave Uncle Murda the green light to go at Pap for Case Lake cutting Violator out of Pap deal with Jive for $1.5 million. Now, supposedly, Uncle Murda would start throwing subliminal jabs at Papoose, and they'll be out in the nightlife, and they'll run into each other, but nothing will go down, even though they both was with their crews. Now, after this running with Papoose and Uncle Murda, they'll see each other again, and it said Uncle Murda will be leaving out the venue alone, and one of Pap guys would try to get at Uncle Murda, and he ran. But Uncle Murda claims he only ran to get space to act like he was reaching for his gun to get them up off him.
Niggas tried to swing. Nigga got this Floyd Mayweather on. Come on, get out of here with that shit, man. I weaved that, ran a little bit down the block. I turned around, like, all right, what's up? I ran in the middle of the street. I gripped up, because they was deep. A couple more niggas ran. When I ran in the middle of the street, a couple more niggas ran over. I gripped up like I had that motherfucking thing.
Now, after this situation with Uncle Murda, this is what Remy Ma is speaking on. Pat will be outside and someone from GMG will hit Papoose from behind and he'll spin around the pole. Now this situation happened in December 2007. Now it seems like Papoose got hit and he ran and left his guy behind getting jumped by GMG. But Pap claimed he ran to his car to get a baseball bat.
Played a little baseball that day, don't you know?
You know what I'm saying? I played a little bit. I got my Barry Bonds on.
Now, shortly after this, supposedly in January 2008, Uncle Murda will be sitting in a parking lot in Cypress Projects in East New York, and him and his guys will be involved with a shootout where it was reported Uncle Murda was shot in his head. Now, Murda would eventually admit not being shot in his head, but was injured by a piece of glass that one of the bullets hit.
So it was a piece of glass from the, I guess when the bullets hit the window. A piece of glass from the window actually cut my head.
Now, supposedly, the person who injured Uncle Murda during this shootout would be a close friend of Papoose at the time.
Public information, ain't nobody snitching. Moose went to jail for shooting Uncle Murda over who? Papoose.
Now, Uncle Murda would drop a mixtape after being injured with a few songs speaking about the shooting, mainly on his mixtape self-titled track, Hard to Kill, and Papoose would respond to Uncle Murda with his Who Shot Ya freestyle, a Biggie beat. Now, eventually, after all these situations between Uncle Murda and Papoose went down, DJ K Slay would step in to cool things down between the two. Now, I'm not sure if Murda and Pap beef is completely squashed, but they did jump on some songs together, and that was on the late K Slay Rollin' 50 Deep and his Rollin' 100 Deep. So rest in peace and shout out to K Slay for mediating this situation, because things could have really got ugly. They was in the street with it. People getting hit with baseball bats allegedly, and people getting punched, shooting at each other, so it could have really got crazy. So shout out to K Slay and rest in peace to him. Now, Shyne is a rapper born in Belize but would move to Brooklyn at a young age. Shyne rapped for a guy named Austin in a barbershop in Flatbush after getting his hair cut. Austin was impressed with Shyne rhymes, so he took him to Don Pool.
I rapped for Austin, right at the barbershop. He was like, oh my goodness. Then he took me to Don Pool,
who was the manager of Foxy Brown at the time. Now, while shopping for a deal, Shyne see Diddy at a Sony Christmas party where he had rap for Puff. Now, even though other labels was interested in signing Shyne, Shyne signed to Bad Boy Records.
I saw Puff at the Sony Christmas party, and I was like, man, I'm the greatest thing you ever gonna hear.
Shyne be featured on May's second album, Double Up, Total Sitting at Home remix, and Puff Forever album on a song called Reverse, which featured G-Dep, Busta Rhymes, CeeLo, Source Money, and Redman. Now, once Shyne was introduced to the world, he'll be quickly compared to Biggie from his heavy voice, tone, flow, and delivery. By May 2000, Shyne dropped his Bad Boy single and dropped his debut album for Shyne, which also features singles like That's Gangsta and Bonnie and Shyne. Now, before Shyne could put out his sophomore album, he'll face legal issues stemming from his involvement in a club shooting December 27th, 1999, which he'll eventually be sentenced to 10 years in prison for. Now, before Shyne could release his gold self-titled album for Shyne, before Shyne put out his hit singles for Bad Boys and Bonnie and Shyne, before Shyne spent 10 years in prison, Shyne found himself in some trouble that he might not made it out of. Now, supposedly in Shyne's teenage years, he'll be heavy in the streets and he'll get in a fight with another kid. Now, this kid will shoot Shyne in his right shoulder, leaving him with a 6-inch scar. Now, Shyne will only be 15 years old when he was shot, and it's also said that he may have been shot with a shotgun. Now, with Shyne being shot at 15, it made his mother depressed. So basically, Shyne promised his moms he was going to change his life around.
So when I got shot, I said, listen, Mom, I promise I'm going to stay alive for you. I won't get myself killed. I won't kill anyone.
So Shyne basically stay in the house listening to music and making music and writing raps. And after Shyne changed his life around, a few years later, he'll graduate from high school and get a job as a messenger. Now, this job as a messenger actually gave him the courage to go hard with his music career, and it gave him the drive he needed to make it in the music industry. Now, Jay-Z went from being a rap superstar to hip-hop icon and billionaire. In Hope's younger days, Jay supposedly spent time in the streets as a hustler, selling drugs and doing what he had to do to support himself and his family, being that his dad wasn't around. Jay spent most of his career rapping about his ups and downs in the drug game, but in his much later years, Jay's been rapping much more positive and uplifting, like he displayed on his 444 album. Jay is looked at like one of the best rappers to ever do it, and definitely is on everybody's top 5 list. Now, before Jay-Z could put out 13 platinum solo albums and work with artists such as Snoop Dogg, Kanye West, Biggie and Beyonce. Before Jay-Z could sell out Madison Square Garden on numerous occasions, Jay-Z will find himself in a situation that he might not made it out of. Now, supposedly at the time, Jay-Z had an older brother who was addicted to drugs, and that older brother of his stole one of Jay-Z's gold rings. Now, from what I'm hearing, that may not been the first time he stole from Jay, but this particular time put Jay over the edge, so Jay decided to shoot his brother for stealing his gold ring. Now, I'm going to get into an article explaining an interview Jay-Z had, giving details of him shooting his brother. He described shooting his brother who had stolen his ring and tell how he felt pulling the trigger. I thought my life was over. I thought I'd go to jail forever. In fact, his brother, addicted to crack at the time of the shooting, did not press charges and apologized to his little brother for his addiction when a future star visited him in the hospital. It was terrible. I was a boy. I was a child. I was terrified, he said. The shooting is explored in the lyrics of You Must Love Me. Saw the devil in your eyes, high of more than weed, confused. I just closed my young eyes and squeezed. In the interview, he also described his surroundings. Guns were everywhere. You didn't have to go far to get one. Just everywhere, he said. In a housing project in Bedford-Stuyvesant area of Brooklyn, shootouts were a commonplace. Guns were around every day. There were shootouts, but I never shot anyone else. Most people in shootouts don't get shot. Despite being shot at 3 times, he was unscratched. It's like there was some kind of rogue angel watching over us, he said. Now, Jay-Z's old friend and big homie Jaz-O actually speak about this situation in a Vlad TV interview, and he says Jay-Z actually got the gun to shoot his brother from him.
It was my gun. That wasn't the purpose that he wanted the gun, but that's just how it turned out.
Now, supposedly, Jaz-O was the one to give Jay-Z the gun he shot his brother with, but like Jaz-O said, he didn't give it to Jay-Z to go shoot his brother with. He gave it to him for protection, and just so happened that was the gun that he ended up shooting his brother with. Now, in other stories and articles, they saying Jay-Z was 12 at the time, but that's kind of hard to believe, being that in that same Vlad TV interview, Jaz-O said he didn't meet Jay-Z until Jay-Z was 15. But you know how it go when you telling stories about yourself that's old. Sometimes you get the timelines messed up. But anyway, jump in my comment section. Let me know if y'all feel like Jay-Z could have handled this a different way. Do y'all think Jay was wrong for shooting his brother? Now, I'm hearing that his brother was stealing, stuff from the family around this time, and he wanted to show his peoples that he'd protect them against him and all that. So let me know in that comment section, do y'all think like if Jay went too far? Also, let me know y'all top 5 rappers of all time. And, tell a friend about my page if you're a fan of these old hip-hop stories. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. More exclusive content coming, and I'm out. 1.